what's up? I'm Songbird. I'm a musician, a D&D enthusiast, and, now, an aspiring game designer. I've decided to attempt 12 microgames in 12 months to practice my game design skills and document my progress. Along the way, I'll be learning about programming, art, sound design, game design, and project management. And maybe you'll learn some things too. Let's rock and roll. My idea for my first project probably makes sense to do something that matches up with my current skill set. I have very little artistic talent, I have only a basic understanding of programming concepts, but have done a lot of work making stuff for my various D&D and tabletop role-playing games. So, I need a game concept that's not too complicated to program, with minimal artistic requirements, but still might allow me to express my creativity. And what better game than going back to basics, Pong. And so, I did. I loosely followed the tutorial on the Godot engine documentation page and added a few minor modifications. But this game's kind of boring. I need to add something new, something fresh, something that revolutionizes the Pong meta. See, with this game, really the only thing you can do is move up and down. You can't control where your shots go at all, and you're essentially just relying on the randomization of the ball to help you win. But what if you could spin? Being able to rotate your character to angle the shots that you want to make could be a very simple way to add some interesting gameplay choices. My brother is a big software guy, and he talked to me about a very important concept called the minimum viable product, or MVP. Essentially, what's the very most basic version of the game that still functions and can be called a finished game? Well, to get that, we would need the ability to move the player character, the ability of the player character to spin, a ball that bounces off of players and walls and calculates all those angles correctly, a way to keep score, an AI player, and a win state. Let's do it. First, I made a new player sprite and wrote a script to give it the ability to move and rotate. Easy enough. Next was the ball bouncing. I had gotten it to work before, so this should be as easy, right? Not exactly. See, the tutorial I followed originally just had the ball detect collision and then bounce off in a random direction. To get the ball reliably bouncing off of angled paddles, I needed to relearn some stuff about vectors. Vectors are a common thing in video game programming, as they help us describe the velocity and acceleration of moving objects. You may remember that vectors are made up of both a
direction and magnitude.
The vector of the ball is pretty simple, but what about a non-moving object like a wall or player? Well, I made some code that creates a vector for these things based on the direction they're facing, which the ball can now reference whenever it needs to bounce. By using the direction and magnitude of the vectors of the ball and the surface it's bouncing off of, you can create a reliable ricochet equation that looks like this. Or you can not take 3 hours to try and implement that and just use Godot's built-in reflection function. Whew, never doing math ever again. I decided to tackle the enemy AI next. I wanted it to be beatable, so I made it detect what height the ball is at and then move towards that distance at a fixed rate. Also, every time it hits the ball, it rotates to a new angle. Maybe in the future I'll try and spice it up by having it aim away from the player so we can try to score goals. After that, it was easy enough to throw in a scoreboard too. And finally, a win screen when one side gets to 3 points. Now that we have the MVP, the game is a lot more dynamic than simply moving up and down. But there's still something missing. We added this ability to spin, but there's no real reason to spin beyond a certain angle. If I want players to be spinning around and around and around and around and around, I need to reward them for doing so. Songbird game design axiom number 1. Reward the behaviors you want to see your players do. Easier said than done, though. How can I inspire players to rotate their character all the way around using all sides of their character? Sides. What if, every time they hit the ball with a different side, they added some energy to the super meter? And with a full super meter, the player could activate a super special ability or power shot. That's right, we're adding super moves to Pong, baby! So check out my video next week to see how that goes. I hope that anyone else interested in game design will offer input, take away some ideas, and maybe even attempt the challenge with me. I was inspired to do this series mainly by Yahtzee Crowshaw's Dev Diary series. He's a lot more proficient and professional than I am, so I would highly recommend watching his videos. Additionally, I was inspired by some other game dev YouTubers, primarily Mrs. and Artificial. Please go watch their stuff. I've learned so much before even starting by going through their channels. All the links to their channels and everything else I've mentioned should be in the description below. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, go ahead and like the video. Also, if you want to keep up with my game development journey, consider subscribing. It's free and you can always change your mind. Stay frosty.